So Shopify just released a brand new app called the Shop Launch Check. This is very exciting because Shopify itself hasn't released a new app in a long time. But as you can see, the Shop Launch Check is an app that scans your entire store setup using Shopify's AI and Shopify's APIs, and it tells you what's ready, what's not, and what you still need to fix before going live. So we're going to install this app in a second and get this launch check to see how it all works. As you can see, it's a Shopify made and developed app, so it's not a third-party app. And because it's a Shopify made and developed app, it is free. The launch check is an app that runs in the admin, and it scans these 5 areas of your setup. Once it scans those 5 areas of the setup, it gives you these green or these orange indicators that needs ready, not ready, or needs attention. Obviously, if you aren't a Plus store, you won't have this B2B area. And if you don't have an in-person POS, you won't have this POS area, but it will still scan your store admin, your store data, your admin, and your front end, and it'll give you the launch check that looks something like this. On top of those colored indicators, we'll also give you some assessments and some business impact assessments and some recommendations, obviously some links to some help center articles and these sort of things. So it doesn't just tell you if something's missing, but the business impact and the recommendation for doing so before launching. One thing that's interesting about this app is that in order for it to work, it needs to access and scan obviously all of your store's data. So if you're someone who's cognizant about how much data is being shared, this is a very extensive list of data that is being read by the app. Of course, it's a Shopify made app, not a third-party app, so that data isn't transferred to third-party systems. And the app itself scans your information, needs to access all of this. But just something to keep in mind, because every time you do install an app from the Shopify app store, it asks you to accept that this app will read this amount of information. Just something to keep in mind. So let's install the app. So the layout is quite simple. We have the launch check here under the apps, and I pinned it. If I open it, there's no subheadings that open up underneath it because it's a brand new app. There's only one button to run the launch check, and it's just a little Shopify AI information here that says more information about the app. We can run the launch check and we can add a new launch check. So this is a brand new store with absolutely nothing added to it, so I don't think it'll take the 2 minutes that it says. If I click run the launch check, we can name it and we can select the tasks that we want it to scan. This will obviously speed up or slow down the process. Here it says B2B is Plus only because B2B is only available in the Plus plan. And then POS, if you don't have a POS, obviously we don't need it running or scanning for POS. So we can check and uncheck the POS. So store data checks customers, suspicious customers, orders, order status, test order, products. In the admin, there's 21 or 22. So installed apps, checkout accounts, checkout settings, customer account settings, custom domain, email notifications, sender email check, store email check. This one's usually a big one that people gift card migration, published languages, if you have multiple languages, active locations, active markets, payments, if you have a primary gateway, additional payment methods, store policies, shipping, staff members, if you have any staff members, ownership, tax settings. And then in the front end, this would talk about your actual website. So 404 page, favicons added, footers, headers, password is on, default placeholders. Default placeholders means like if you have any default placeholder images or default placeholder text that you haven't edited because you don't want to have those when you launch. Social sharing image, meta title, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager. That's an interesting one because that's not native to Shopify. That's actually a third-party program. Google installing on your program isn't necessary for launch, but obviously it's highly recommended, so much so that it's included in this launch check. And then there's B2B here for some Plus exclusive features here. And then in POS, we have some configuration, some payments, and some products and staff. So quite in depth. Some of the information, obviously, like active products would be quite obvious, but suspicious customers check, look for any suspicious customer accounts that may be scrubbed. So this is talking about customers that are added to your customer list or your marketing list that will cause problems for you down the road. So let's start. Let it scan 3 of these. Let's see how long it takes. Start, it says in progress. And there's a cancel button over here. Okay, so it's done. So that honestly took about like 10 seconds. I'm sure it depends on your internet connection and how many things you added here, how extensive your setup is. It logs the date and the time here, and you can also name it. So let's take a look. So this is a brand new store, right? There's absolutely nothing in it. So suspicious customers, we don't have any customers, so there wouldn't be anything there. We can view the details of that. Here's the assessment. So there are currently no customer records in your store. So no fake or suspicious entries can be identified. That's actually very accurate. Detailed findings, 0 customers analyzed out of 0 totals in your store. The business impact. So launching with a clean customer database helps avoid spam, fraud risks, analytics, errors. You can be confident your store is free from test or malicious customer entries at this stage. So this is important because remember, not everybody launching a Shopify store is launching their business for the first time. A lot of people migrate to the Shopify platform from another platform. And when they do that, they migrate all of their customer data in CSV files. And so this is a great way to clean up that customer base, especially if you haven't done it in a while. Under the recommendations, as you begin to collect real customer data, regular check for suspicious email patterns and test records. Shopify email actually added an update recently. If you're using Shopify email, maybe you're not using Shopify email, where it helps detect and delete suspicious or fraudulent signups, which is really important for your email marketing list. And then if we see down here, useful links, these are all help center links and also some developer links here. 3 help center links, 3 developer links, which is quite interesting. So there's ready, obviously. So this is when it meets launch requirements. Then there's not ready, and not ready means that there's an issue that has been found that can affect your launch. So you'd want to review the not readies. And then there's check manually. So check manually are tasks that require you to actually do something. So for example, order customer connection. Well, there's no payment gateway set up on this store that was just created. So I'm sure that's what it'll say. There are currently no orders in your store, no customer order connection issues can be identified. Oh, so this specific one is actually talking about fulfillment and connections that way. So for example, if we scroll down here, we have payments. So a primary gateway has never been connected. So it says not ready. And then additional payment methods, if you wanted to add, you can check manually. So and then, of course, because there's no payment gateway connected, it says the bank account and the payment check needs to be reviewed manually. So there's a lot going on here. Obviously, you wouldn't install this app right away when you make a brand new account, because if you do that, this can obviously look very overwhelming because we've done absolutely nothing. It's interesting to see the ones that are ready that come standard with Shopify. Even if you just make a brand new account, it might be more helpful if they had not ready and check manually 2 different colors. And then of course, once you action some of these things and you go through the steps, you can rerun the launch check, or you can click mark as ready over here, or you can even add a note here for staff or other owners. So then up here, we can say rerun and we can click rename if we'd like. So obviously this can be used in multiple ways. If you are brand new, this is something that is excellent for you, highly recommend. But even if you have a store that is not so brand new or has been in business a long time, it's absolutely free to download the Launch Check app and to run a scan. It doesn't take too much time at all because there are things like, installing Google Analytics that somebody might not know if they've been running on their store for a long time, or maybe it's got disconnected. Getting analytics and tracking these things and installing the Google Tag Manager through the Google and YouTube app is very, very important. But someone who maybe started their store a very, very long time ago might not even realize that. That's something that I didn't think was going to be included in this launch check, so it's interesting to see. But it's quite an in-depth app. I'm actually quite surprised. I thought it would be quite basic, only for brand new stores. But as you can see, there's a lot of information, a lot of checks, and then within each report, there's detailed findings and business impact and recommendations and some links. I thought this was going to be quite similar when you start a new store, because on your homepage you have, and you've always had, recommendations on what to do next. And so this is just the next tool in helping entrepreneurs launch as quickly and easily on Shopify as possible. One thing that is a little delicate with this app though, is if you are running a business and you have multiple staff accounts, the staff member might have app permissions to download and install and run a check. But in order to action all of these items, they might not be able to action them themselves. So for example, if a staff member doesn't have access to checkout or domain or email information, only certain accounts might be able to action these things, because adding staff accounts all have their own individual permissions. And I wonder if the staff account doesn't have that permission, can they even review the detailed findings or the business impact or the recommendations, or how far into that setting that they don't have permission to view, can they actually view? So it's a nice app. It's like basically having a pre-launch consultant built right into your dashboard. Obviously, that's a question I think that every single entrepreneur on Shopify at least has had, when they're starting their first business. Am I done? Am I ready? Can I launch now? And this definitely simplifies that process. You just go methodically one by one until you have all checks, and then you'd be ready to go. apparently, from this app. So is this worth app installing? For beginners, absolutely. Even for experienced businesses that's been in business for a long time, probably worth just doing a check. Just keep in mind how it's reading that data. And honestly, it's just a nice little surprise because this is a brand new app. It wasn't really talked about in editions and summer editions that we covered. It was just a quick update that was added last month, and an app that I definitely think will help a lot of people. So what do you guys think of the new Shopify Launch Check? If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you're a Shopify business owner, if you want to join a Shopify community, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if this has helped you. And if you do, I'll see you in the next video.